My name is Kyra Garson. I have been living in Kamloops. My family have been settlers in Secwepemc territories for about 50 years. But I left Kamloops for a number of years, and then when I returned, I came back to TRU. I've been working at TRU pretty much since 2005 in my current position for the last 12 years. My position is Intercultural Coordinator, which is kind of a unique position. There's some more institutions that are creating similar positions, but I think TRU was the first one. I believe that TRU would like to respond fulsomely to the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. There's 94 calls. Many of them are quite specific to education and also quite specific to disciplines that we teach at TRU. So there's sections that deal with people who are going to be working in law or media, like yourselves, education, healthcare, those types of things. So our goal ultimately would be to allow all of our programming to help the next generation to work towards reconciliation. I think we have quite strong programming and services for Indigenous students. The Indigenous student population at TRU, of course, serves the region and in particular Secwepemc students, but we actually have a very diverse Indigenous student population from all across the country, and I would even argue beyond. So we do have international students that attend TRU that would identify as Indigenous in their home countries as well. Mostly the specific services for Indigenous students are more for national Canadian Indigenous or students that were born in the country called Canada. But I think we have strong services. One of the main things is the Coulter, the gathering place. Partly because of the space that it allows, but also because a lot of services that are available to all students, but some of those services specifically do outreach and go to Coulter to provide services to Indigenous students. So for example, sometimes people from the Math Center will set up some times to work in that space with students. Same with the Writing Center, Wellness Coordinator, that type of thing. So we have a lot of student services through the Faculty of Student Development. It's just a matter of figuring out how to reach students that may not know about or may not want to go all the way across campus to access them. Sure, yeah, I think it's a great program we have here. It's not uncommon at other institutions. We have currently four elders working mostly out of Coulter, but they also do a lot of outreach around campus. They might be invited to classes, to give a lecture, or to have a conversation dialogue with students. They may be invited to events to do prayers or openings, that type of thing. But more specifically, the biggest part of their job, I think, is providing, support's maybe not the right word, but providing a relationship for students, in particular for students that may have come from around the region, may not have family here, and so that's a way that they can feel like they almost have a grandparent or someone that's watching out for them. I think they give a lot of cultural advice. They really encourage students when things are difficult to keep on going and to persevere in their academic and professional and personal goals. And I think they just provide sort of a sense of belonging for many students. Yeah. I don't know much about the powwow club specifically, but I do know that we have a powwow every year specific to TRU, and then also, of course, there's the really big one, the Kamloops. This year, actually, almost every year, the TRU powwow falls on the weekend directly after International Days or I-Days, and it's a two-day event. It's fantastic. This year it's happening in the gym, and there'll be all kinds of drumming and dancing and storytelling and just sort of sharing of Indigenous culture. The Coyote Project is actually really unique, I think, to TRU. It's an institution-wide project where almost all faculties, I think probably all faculties, as well as many departments that aren't necessarily academic units. So, for example, TRU World or Open Learning, well, Open Learning is academic, so other units are all working towards the goals of addressing recruitment, retention, and success for Indigenous students. And that looks different in different departments. In some areas, they're working very hard to adapt curriculum for more Indigenous content and for all students to be able to learn a little bit more about the history of colonialization, this region, the cultures of this region, etc. In other units, it's maybe more focused towards providing culturally appropriate services for Indigenous students. And in other areas, it's really about educating ourselves so that we can understand perhaps some of the systemic barriers, some of the intergenerational trauma that students may be experiencing, and things like that. Well, the gathering place is very important for many students, and actually part of I'm in the Faculty of Student Development, and our Coyote project was actually looking to gain information from Indigenous students about what services they accessed and which ones were most important. And we heard resoundingly from the participants in that study that the gathering place is really critical for students, and it's not big enough. So it needs to be expanded. I think it provides a safe place. It's a place where students, well, anyone can go and make a cup of tea or have a piece of toast. Again, many students don't have families in Kamloops necessarily, and so it gives them a place where they feel like they're surrounded by like-minded folks and can have the safety that they may require, a place to relax, a place to study, a place to take their shoes off, and also to seek counsel from either the elders or many of the staff or even other students in that sort of networking there. When you see something from your culture or something that you connect with, you have more of a feeling of belonging. I think it's a way of honoring the talent and the creativity and the worldview of Indigenous peoples of this region and across the country. In some ways, some people might think that simply putting up art could become a form of tokenism, and I would caution that just having art is probably not enough, but in conjunction with really addressing learning outcomes and really honoring and being humble about that, I think in conjunction with the artwork, it's all part of the move, right? My office is currently in House 4, which is right next door to Polkton. The sign outside says Indigenous and Intercultural Offices. If you want to pass by, just come on in, front door's open, and we're upstairs.